There are cars out there with no traction control, no screens, and speed numbers that sound fake, yet they're real, street legal, and almost forgotten. And one of them costs less than a new Ferrari. Number 8. Noble M600. This car should not exist in the modern era. And that's exactly why it matters. The Noble M600 is a British-built supercar that looks simple on the outside, but underneath, it's borderline unhinged. No traction control, no stability control, no drive modes, no screens. Just you, the engine, and the consequences of your decisions. At its heart is a 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8. It's Yamaha-derived and Volvo-based, which already sounds strange, but Noble tuned it to produce 650 horsepower and 604 pound-feet of torque. That power goes straight to the rear wheels through a 6-speed manual. No dual clutch, no paddles. A real clutch pedal in a 225-mile-per-hour car. And yes, it'll do 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds, but numbers don't really explain this thing. What matters is weight. The M600 weighs roughly 2,645 pounds. That's hundreds of pounds lighter than most modern supercars. When boost hits, it doesn't ease in. It dumps everything at once. Inside, it feels like a race car that accidentally got leather seats. The gauges are analog. There's no infotainment, no driver aids hiding mistakes. I think that's why so few people talk about it, because it demands skill. You can't fake being fast in a Noble. At around $330,000, it was never meant to be popular. It was meant to be pure. And next up is a car that went even further down the no-compromise road and turned the Nürburgring upside down. Number 7. Gumpert Apollo S. Before hypercars became obsessed with lap times, this thing already solved the problem. The Gumpert Apollo S looks like a race car that escaped onto public roads, and honestly, that's not far from the truth. It was built by Roland Gumpert, a former Audi motorsport boss. And his goal was simple: build the fastest street-legal car around a racetrack. Power comes from a 4.2-liter twin-turbo V8, making 650 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque, sent through a 7-speed sequential manual. This isn't smooth, it's violent. Shifts hit hard. The car weighs just 2,425 pounds, which is insanely light for something with this much structure and aero. The Apollo S will hit 224 miles per hour, but again, that's not the headline. The real story is downforce. This car produces so much grip that it once embarrassed multi-million-dollar hypercars on track. It doesn't care about comfort. The suspension is stiff. The interior is bare. The visibility is terrible. Inside, it feels like a race cockpit because that's basically what it is. No luxury, no softness, just carbon fiber, exposed hardware, and focus. When it was new, it cost around $450,000. But owning one meant you were okay with suffering for speed. This was the original Nürburgring monster. And coming up next is a car that took aerodynamics so far, it literally moves while you drive. Number 6. Zenvo TSRS. This car looks fake until you see it move. The Zenvo TSRS comes from Denmark, and it's one of those hypercars that makes people stop and stare, not because it's pretty, but because it's aggressive in a way that feels unstable. And that's before you notice the rear wing. Under the hood is a 5.8-liter twin supercharged V8 making 1,177 horsepower and 811 pound-feet of torque. Let that sink in. Superchargers, not turbos, and over 1,100 horsepower sent through a 7-speed automated manual. It'll do 0 to 60 in about 2.8 seconds and top out around 202 miles per hour. But the headline feature is the wing. Zenvo calls it the centrifugal downforce system. Instead of tilting forward and back like normal active aero, the wing actually leans side to side during cornering. When you turn left, the wing tilts to the right, pushing the car into the pavement. It's real. It works. And it looks completely insane in motion. The car weighs about 3,250 pounds, which isn't light, but the grip makes up for it. Inside, it's carbon heavy with race-inspired luxury. You get buckets, harnesses, and just enough comfort to survive long drives. At roughly $1.6 million, this was never about value. It was about proving a point. And next, we're getting into something even more extreme. A car that doesn't even pretend to care about roads. Number 5. Apollo Intensa. Emozione. This car doesn't want you to be comfortable. At all. The Apollo Intensa Emozione, or IE, is basically a track-only hypercar that somehow got approved for limited road use in some regions. It runs a 6.3-liter naturally aspirated V12, making 780 horsepower with 561 pound-feet of torque. No turbos, no hybrids, just pure engine noise. power goes through a 6-speed sequential manual, and the car hits 0 to 60 in about 2.7 seconds, topping out around 208 miles per hour. But again, speed isn't the focus. Downforce is. This thing generates around 1,350 kilograms of downforce. That's more than the car weighs, which explains why it sticks like glue at speed. The weight is roughly 2,756 pounds, and every piece of it feels intentional. The exterior looks alien. Sharp edges everywhere. Massive aero surfaces. Nothing is subtle. Inside is where it gets really wild. There are no traditional seats. Instead, the seat is molded directly to the owner's body and built into the chassis. Once you're in, that's it. You don't adjust anything. No screens, no comfort features, no compromise. At about $2.7 million, it's one of the most extreme things ever sold to private buyers. And next up is a car almost nobody talks about, despite having titanium in its bones. Number 4. Spana GTA Spano. This car sounds made up. It's not. The Spana GTA Spano comes from Spain, and it's one of the rarest hypercars ever built. Under the hood sits an 8.4-liter twin-turbo V10, producing 925 horsepower and 902 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent through a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. It'll launch from 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds and push on to a claimed 230 miles per hour top speed. The car weighs around 2,976 pounds, which is impressive given what it's made of. The chassis uses a carbon titanium monocoque, something you almost never hear outside of aerospace. That gives it insane rigidity without adding weight. Design-wise, it's exotic and angular. Not elegant, but aggressive. Inside, you get leather mixed with exposed carbon fiber. It's more comfortable than you'd expect, but still serious. At roughly $750,000, this should have been talked about way more than it was, but it slipped through the cracks. And coming up next is an American icon that quietly terrified the world. Number 3. Saleen S7. Twin Turbo. The Saleen S7. Twin Turbo is one of those cars that feels unreal even today. Back when it launched, nothing about it made sense. It was fully American, built from the ground up, and somehow faster than almost everything coming out of Europe. Power comes from a 7.0-liter twin-turbo V8, producing 750 horsepower and 750 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 6-speed manual. The car weighs roughly 2,860 pounds, which helps explain the numbers. It launches from 0 to 60 in about 2.8 seconds and runs all the way to a verified 248 miles per hour top speed. This wasn't a concept or a prototype. It was real, and it shocked the industry. The chassis is carbon fiber and race-bred, designed with endurance racing in mind. The exterior isn't about beauty. It's about airflow and stability at insane speeds. Inside, it's raw and analog. No screens, no distractions, just gauges and switches. When it was new, it cost around $585,000, yet it went toe-to-toe with cars that cost millions. I think the craziest part is how little credit it gets today. And next, we're stepping into the future with a car built by machines, not tradition. Number 2. Czinger 21C. The Czinger 21C feels like a hypercar that skipped a few decades ahead. Almost every part of it was designed using AI and built with 3D printed metal, which already puts it in a different category. Power comes from a 2.88-liter twin-turbo V8 paired with an electric motor, producing a combined 1,250 horsepower and roughly 1,250 pound-feet of torque. That power goes through a 7-speed sequential transmission. The car weighs about 2,750 pounds, which is wild for a hybrid. It hits 0 to 60 in just 1.9 seconds and claims a 253 miles per hour top speed. But what really separates it is proof. This car has verified lap records, not just marketing numbers. The seating layout is tandem, with the driver front and center like a fighter jet. The design is sharp and aggressive, and the interior is focused without being uncomfortable. At around $2 million, it's expensive, but it actually delivers. Trust me, this isn't a tech demo, it's a real performance monster. And finally, at number 1, a car that completely breaks the value-to-speed equation. Number 1. Ultima RS. The Ultima RS might be the most ridiculous performance car on this entire list. And I don't say that lightly. It weighs around 2,200 pounds, which is lighter than many compact cars. Power comes from a 6.2-liter supercharged V8, producing up to 1,200 horsepower and 1,150 pound-feet of torque. All of that goes through a 6-speed manual to the rear wheels. There's no traction control, no stability control, no electronic safety nets at all. It launches from 0 to 60 in about 2.3 seconds and has a 250 plus miles per hour gear-limited top speed. The design is pure function, inspired by Le Mans prototypes. Inside, it's bare bones. You get exactly what you need and nothing more. And here's the part that doesn't make sense: the price. Turnkey Ultima RS costs between $120,000 and $160,000. I think that's insane. A car this fast, this light, this raw, and almost nobody knows it exists. If you love speed, luxury, and insane machines, show some love by smashing that like button and hitting subscribe. More epic rides are coming your way.